of a Tapsico lies singing and swinging his town, I know. So have another beer, sit down, I'll tell you more. Folks work real hard, but they're doing it right, 'cause when the sun goes down, they're gonna party all night. I'm talking about Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore.
Yep, it's that time of the year again. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and no better place to spend it than here in Bmore. So many festivals, performances, parades, celebrations. So you better get those calendars out and get ready to fill them in, because we have plenty of glimmers here in our city. So to start off the season, we have the Mayor's Parade. Now, this will probably air after it's over, but I can tell you there will be plenty of fun and excitement. And I'm proud to say that we've asked so many of our partners we've interviewed here on Be More Good News to get out and promote all the good that they're doing. And I want to name just a few, because I might not get them all in, but I want to give a big shout out to Connie Weller of the Kindness Movement, Eric of the Infinite Love Project, Sarah Fawcett of Aziza Peace, Tony James of Catwalk, Lillian and Kim of the Baltimore Station, Reverend Chet and Darian of Good Shepherd Church, and Mary Uncustomary, some new ambassadors as well. So let's get started. So Word, our philanthropic performing artist, influencer, lover of Baltimore, spoken word singer. Oh, what can't you do? Anyway, we're so happy that you are with us. So what are you looking for at the holidays? It was just a year ago, and Bonnie and I remember that we had the honor to meet you. So it's kind of an anniversary coming up. So what do you got cooked up for the holidays, hon?
Yeah, it's definitely full circle moment when we met one another. Doubted we had podcasts on our minds anywhere in that phone. It wasn't even floating around during that time, but we connected quick. I'm definitely thankful for the BSO for honestly just bringing us together, and forming a friendship and everything. But, as everybody knows, Bonnie and Judy Huns, they were part of the Holiday Spectacular last year. And so that's why I got a chance to meet them. And then for the past 4 years, I do a piece called Night Before Christmas. And when I do this particular piece, it's basically Santa is disgruntled from all the different things that happen throughout the year. So this piece is updated every year. So people would come out just to see what Santa's going to talk about this year. And so basically just think of it as a recap. Basically, Santa does what he normally does, has the reindeers flying around, decides he wants to stop delivering gifts, sits down on the couch of some random person's house. They happen to come downstairs, and it turns actually into a therapy session between a random person in this house and Santa. And pretty much the guy having to get him back together and, and be like, Santa, you still got to deliver gifts. You know what I mean? Thanks for venting and all this good stuff, but you got to get back to work and bring joy to people. So I normally do this every year at the BSO. It's not programmed for me to do it this year. So it'll be my first time in 4 years I haven't done it. But the blessing that came with it was WBAL. They have their Christmas show every year called Season to Celebrate. They actually won an Emmy for it last year. And so they approached me and hired me to do a new version of Night Before Christmas, which I'm going to shoot on Saturday. And then also they had me write another original song called A Wonderful Day. And it's probably that song, I'd say it's a mix of Christmas, holiday. I wrote some choral arrangements, some hip hop in it as well, some spoken word in it as well. And it's kind of a pop type of record too. So it's a bunch of my different, I would say, genres and flavors that I love mixed in one. And so I'm going to shoot both of these pieces on Saturday. I'm not sure when the special is going to air, but I think maybe the middle of December, maybe December 15th, 16th, something like that. So that's, I would say, my way that I'm bringing joy. And
I should say Wordsmith TV star.
Well, I would say the blessing too is just bigger audience. I would have loved, there we go. Tell them, Bonnie. I would have loved to still perform this with the BSO, because I think it would have been great to kind of get both formats, to have this TV performance, but also have a concert performance, because the concert performance, the piece is 7 minutes long, where the TV performance Night Before Christmas is only 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So the way I looked at it, I was like, man, this is going to be dope, because what you're going to see on TV, you'll hear something pretty much slightly different when you come to the hall. But fortunately, it's not programmed this year, but that's fine, because I'm going to spread a bunch of joy through that TV. I'm going to make sure that a lot of people are impacted, I would say, through my piece, through my performances. And I'm just blessed to be a part of this special, because I already had wrote the new piece, and I had got the WBL situation before I found out I wasn't doing the BSO holiday spectacular this year. But like I said, stayed positive about it. Another door always swings open. I took a big giant step through it, and I'll see y'all hopefully, middle December sometime during the season to celebrate. So check me out then. That's how I'm bringing some love and joy to Baltimore City.
Well, wait a minute. That sounds like rising with a purpose, hon.
All the time. All the time. We stay positive no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, we will definitely have that posted on our website. We will post that everywhere so that we know all of Baltimore is watching for sure. So as we get details, we will absolutely make sure that we put them out there. We are so proud that you are bringing it in that form. So that means everybody can see it this way,
free for everybody with the television.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So grateful. Thank y'all too.
Oh, thank you. That's a great gift all the way around. Well, Desmond, this season is a photographer's delight after all. So where will we find you behind the camera? I know that you are definitely on speed dial for this season. So what can we expect?
For sure. The short answer is you'll find me every damn where during the season, just like during any other day. Yeah, heck today I just got back from being up in the northeastern part of Maryland, at the Conowingo Dam, taking pictures of the eagles in flight, and like eagles like going down and trying to fish and feed themselves and everything else. It's good times. But for the holidays, a couple places I make a regular part of my rotation, and I encourage other people to do the same. One of my favorite hangouts in the city, the Rawlings Conservatory in Druid Hill Park, has their winter/holiday display. It's starting on December 2nd. It runs to the end of December, full of poinsettias, full of interesting decorations. They have a little train garden in there too. Fantastic, right? There's sometimes little bits of events that kind of pop up there, and it's always full of love and joy throughout the season too. And it's pretty chill, all things considered, right? So it can be a good kind of respite from some of the stress of the holidays, or just like a way to kind of bring family and set them loose in amongst some beautiful plants, so you can go off and do something else. Speaking of train gardens, that's another thing that I'm a big fan of. So I like lots of kind of model toys and like model engines and things like that, right? The train gardens throughout Baltimore, throughout Maryland, right, are a yearly tradition that I try to hit up with a camera and with my family all the time. Bring various friends out there too. Some of the ones that I'll just highlight here: the Fire Museum of Maryland in Lutherville, awesome place to visit. Just full stop. Their train garden is pretty solid and keeps getting better every year. The Arbutus Volunteer Fire Department hosts a train garden inside of their kind of event hall. It's off on the side, run by a couple who's been doing it for a very long time. It combined with another train garden that used to be at a auto body shop down the street. So it kind of has gotten bigger and bigger, and there's lots of different interactivity, like kids and people, kids at heart, can like press buttons and make things change on the scenery too. It's super slick. And there's little like scavenger hunts at a lot of these train gardens too. So it kind of rewards those who are paying attention, right? It kind of forces you to kind of walk around looking for all the different hidden gems that are inside of them. The shops at Kenilworth host a pretty darn sizable and pretty darn epic train garden that's used to be in the fountain in that mall back in the day. Nowadays it's kind of in its own little space near where the fountain is, but it makes it a little bit easier to see and a little bit easier to kind of like have multiple levels of people, so like little kids can get up front, folks who are less little kids can get behind them. Yeah, exactly. It's good stuff. The Wise Avenue Volunteer Fire Department on the east side, is one of the biggest in the area, and they've been doing it for decades, and it's super, super good. The Glen Avenue Fire Department hosts one in the Park Heights neighborhood that's very, very much like DIY crafted and always with like a kind of funky theme to it too, which is super, super slick. Um, yeah, some other things to check out. There's a Hanukkah extravaganza and a whole bunch of different Hanukkah related events happening at synagogues throughout Baltimore, as well as like Jewish community centers. They're always worth checking out, always worth bringing a camera to check out, to take photos of what's going on there. It's fabulous. The Baltimore Christmas Village, which gives a little taste of Germany to the Inner Harbor in the city, is running through Christmas Eve, and there's a kind of Christmas pyramid there, right? It's like a big, funky windmill looking thing that kind of invites everyone to come around, have some mulled wine or Glühwein, as it's known in German, get some cool gifts for anyone in your life, as well as just kind of mingle and enjoy the season out there, and hang around the fire a smidge, and maybe like ice skate up the road a smidge for in the Inner Harbor as well. The 34th Street, the Miracle on 34th Street in Hamden, is full of awesome holiday lights for a relatively small block of row houses. Like that display is epic, to say the very least, right? I just checked their website earlier today, and they've been doing it apparently for 74 years straight. And it just keeps going and keeps getting better, right? Like anyone who buys a house in that area has to agree to decorate the living heck out of it, or else they're asked to, not sign that mortgage. Always very welcoming, always a lively part of the city. Definitely find somewhere else to drive or park, because trying to like pull your car in that area during the times when it's going, like right now, is not advised. But it's an awesome place to walk and hang out, and sometimes they close the street so that you can actually walk more freely and kind of bring people into the area a bit better and stuff too. Those are the main things. There's the Washington Monument lighting that's happening after this particular podcast airs, but but I believe Bonnie's going to be talking about that a bit more anyway. There's the Fells Point Krampus Fest, or the Krampus Loft, that happens also this coming weekend. That's a great way to kind of celebrate the Yule and a very particular kind of Christmas tradition, for as monstrous as Krampus and Krampus related things look, it's actually a very positive experience in many ways, right? The folks who run it and the folks who are a part of it are all about like uplifting folks while at the same time punishing the naughty and stuff too. And it's all in good fun. And it's a great way to kind of like spend an evening in Fells Point running around dressed as like a beast with giant horns on your head and stuff like that. It's good times.
That was an interesting explanation. I always wondered about that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome stuff.
Oh, thank you, Desmond. Always good to know that you are out and about and seeing, as I always say, your camera with rose-colored lenses, and we just love that about you. So, okay, now Chris hooked up with Dan Rodricks, and he is an award-winning journalist and now evidently a playwright, and he has a play here at the BMA about Baltimore, and it is called You Have No Idea. So I cannot wait to hear what Chris is going to tell us, because I have no idea.
Dan Rodricks, thank you so much for taking some time and talking to us today here on Be More Good News.
Okay, Chris, nice to be with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, you have been writing for a long time, and you've had some forays into radio and TV, but is this your first time actually being on stage?
Well, not the first time. I started dabbling in theater in Baltimore in the 1980s when I got drafted into or recruited to perform with the Young Victorian Theater Company, doing Gilbert and Sullivan's Mikado, Pirates of Penzance, HMS Pinafore. And I thought it would be fun to give that a try. And I did. I took voice lessons, and I actually performed on stage several times with the Young Vic. But that said, I was on TV. I had a regular gig on WBAL TV every Friday for 13 years on the old Action News with Dave Durian and Rudy Miller and that gang at Channel 11. So that was sort of like performance art a little bit. No, so this is the first time I've actually performed in a play in Baltimore. Yeah. So I did do a radio version of Death of a Salesman years ago at the same theater, the Baltimore Museum of Art Theater, where we're doing our play now, or in December. Yeah. So yeah, sure. I've always enjoyed being on stage, but I haven't done that much of it until now.
Well, you've worn a lot of different hats during your career,
Yeah.
so welcome back to the stage. Why a play for these stories? What made you decide that you wanted to share these particular stories in this particular way?
Yeah. Well, I always felt like I should write a play. I thought this would be a distillation of my writing talents, my skills, my ear for dialogue, my interest in theater, in performance. I mean, I love to go to the live theater myself. I like movies. I've been a bit of a ham myself. Anyway, I always thought I should write a play. I think that would be where I could put to work all these skills of writing and dialogue, especially, and storytelling. So I saw Eric Bogosian, Bogosian, who, if you look him up, he used to do a one-man play, one-man performance on stage. He wasn't a stand-up comic, but he did characters. He imitated all kinds of, or created characters on stage, sometimes 20 different characters during a show. So I saw him do that and listened to his recordings many times. I thought, I could do that. I've met so many interesting people with so many interesting voices and the Baltimore accent and all. I said, I could probably do that. But then I chickened out from doing a one-man play and decided, why not take some of these stories that I've written over the years in my column in the Sun, some of the more compelling ones or the funnier ones, and dramatize them, write dialogue, do it on stage. So this idea came together, and I ended up, because I write columns and move from one story to the next, that's the nature of the beast of writing a column. Then I created 9 different scenes and dramatized a few stories that I picked out from over the years. So I thought, well, give it a try. And I had I'm sorry, this is going to sound like a pun, but I really had no idea how this was going to work out. And people liked it. We put it on stage last December, and I was kind of overwhelmed with the response to it. People who were actually upset they couldn't get a ticket because we only did 3 performances of Baltimore, You Have No Idea. And so we're doing it again. So it was very gratifying. And I feel very lucky to be, I feel very lucky to be able to have done everything I did in Baltimore: radio, television, the newspaper column, and now a play. I didn't have to move away to have those experiences. I feel very lucky. So.
Right. So definitely backed by popular demand, for sure.
Yeah, I think we can say that. Yeah, I think we can actually say that. Yeah.
And these are dramatized versions of true stories?
Yeah, they're all true. There's one scene where I kind of do a composite caricature of a political boss polyester. New York had Boss Tweed, Baltimore had Boss Polyester. So it's a comic scene to discuss political corruption in Maryland, Baltimore and Maryland. That's the only scene where the character is a caricature, a fictional character. All the other scenes, the names of characters and what they say, all of that comes right out of columns that I've written over the years. And I don't write fiction in my column. I write newspaper column is 100% nonfiction.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
How does telling a story on stage differ from telling those stories with the written word, and your process in creating that?
That's an interesting question. But I quote people in my columns, right? I go out, and the other day I was sat in somebody's kitchen, and now I use a recorder. I used to take everything by hand. Now my hands aren't as fast as they used to be. So I use a recorder and I quote people. This morning I wrote a column quoting a candidate for the US Senate. So there are quotes appear, the words of other people appear in my columns. And in all these stories, I just went back into the archives of the Sun, looked at what I wrote at the time, and actually drew from there the actual words that people spoke as they were telling me their stories, whether it was a woman who had lost her son in a Baltimore homicide, or a man who had come out of prison, was looking for a job. That's another story. Or a letter that I received from the wife of a World War II veteran. That's another story. I used actual words. I had captured by quoting people, their actual words. So I thought, well, that's going to help with dialogue. That's certainly going to help me recreate this scene when I interviewed somebody or had a telephone conversation with someone. So that's what it's drawn from, my earlier work quoting people. And anyway, so I had to think. I read plays. I read plays that were written by Sam Shepard in particular, and Arthur Miller, to see about staging and direction and all that. And I figured it out. And I didn't go to any playwriting seminars. I didn't do any of that stuff, which maybe I might have benefited from. But I just sat down and started writing a play, and that's what resulted.
What do you want the audience to take away from this experience?
I think this play, Baltimore, You Have No Idea, is very honest about life in Baltimore. There's a lot of bad, there's a lot of good also. And I don't think you sit there and I paint a completely rosy picture for you about Baltimore. But it's a city with a lot of problems, still in recovery from a lot of problems. I refer to Baltimore as our city of perpetual recovery, So you'll take away from it a sort of an honest depiction by somebody who's been a reporter, columnist for a long time in Baltimore, that, yeah, there's a lot that's rough and tough here. We've been through a lot, but it's still a good city with lots of good people in it who care about the city. I think that's what you'll take away from it. It's a little bit nostalgic, but I don't think it's I don't think it's overly sentimental or anything like that. I think you get an honest look at things. I spent a lot of time at the intersection of optimism and pessimism right there. So I think a lot of people do. Your moods change based on what's in the news. What did you hear today? Or what story somebody told you that made you feel good, or a story that depressed you? It's all part of the mix of life, really. And I think that's what comes across in the play.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I hope that's what it is.
Yeah, well, the intersection of all those things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now you have another play in the works, Baltimore Docket. Yeah. It's about courts, trials, criminal justice, based on your experience writing for The Sun and visiting countless courtrooms during your career. Now, this is set to premiere next year, February 2024. What can you tell us about this project?
Well, after we staged Baltimore, We Have No Idea last year, several people I respect said to me, "You have an interesting formula here, or a model for a play. You're a newspaper guy I've written more than 6,000 columns for The Sun. I've got all these stories, some of which I've completely forgotten. So you're a newspaper guy on stage, playing yourself, talking about different people you've encountered over the years, 9 scenes in an hour and a half, right? All of them different stories, but somehow threaded together." So several people said to me, "Well, you need to do this again. And you probably have more stories you could tell in the same format," right? So I decided, I can. But then I decided on criminal justice, the courts. So the next play is 7 scenes, all of them set in a courtroom, each story different. Tragic, funny, not so tragic, not so funny, in between stories based on what I've observed in the courts since 1979, since the first trial I went to. And that's what it is. So it follows the same sort of format. It's just that every story is based in a courtroom. Because when you think about it, a courtroom is naturally dramatic. You know, it's like little theater, isn't it? So I thought, well, that'd be relatively easy to come across, to present that in a dramatic way. And there's some great stories. I mean, I've encountered so many great scenes in courtrooms over the years to describe them. You know, very emotional, sometimes very funny too.
Now, is Baltimore Docket going to have a whole cast of characters, or is this a similar?
Oh, I have so many characters in this. I went a little crazy because, well, I have so many stories to tell. And some courtrooms, you know, are full of people. If you go to district court, almost any place in Maryland, especially in Baltimore or Baltimore County, it's one case after another, after another, after another. I don't know if you've ever been to district court. It's quite a parade of people and issues, and you can learn a lot about a city neighborhood or the city itself just by sitting in district court someday, you know. So I ended up with 46 characters.
Oh, wow.
But they're played by about 15 people. The cast of Baltimore, You Have No Idea, is me and 8 others. This is going to be me and 14 others. So a lot to manage, a lot of chair movements, a lot of "I object, Your Honor," you know, a lot of that stuff. So yeah. So it's a bigger cast and people playing multiple characters.
Well, looking forward to that. Well, regular readers of your column know that you routinely address the challenges that Baltimore faces, and you've mentioned it here today. This isn't about glossing over those challenges or sugarcoating it. And you don't just write about it. You've worked with hundreds or maybe even thousands of formerly incarcerated citizens, helping them find employment opportunities and you know, ways to reenter society. So you're out there walking the walk, not just talking the talk. But there is a lot of negativity that we hear. So what do you say to those folks that tend to have that negative attitude and it seems like there's no way to cut through it? And what's your vision, your hope for the future for Baltimore?
Yeah, I do run into that. People who are so negative about the city tell me, I'm never going to go there again. I'll never go to Baltimore. I said, well, you're going to miss out on stuff. You know, you walk around in fear all of your life and never experience things. I don't say that the fear is unreasonable. You know, we've had a crime surge over the last 8 years since 2015. Finally, we're starting to see some of the numbers on violence go down. But, you know, Chris, if you get around, you see what's going on in the city. It's kind of shocking sometimes to turn a corner and see a crane and another building going up. And this is the city that's, you know, a modern dystopia where people are too afraid to go. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, some parts of town have been neglected for years. Yeah, you can feel, you can drive through there or walk through those neighborhoods and feel a sense of foreboding about the city. You know, like not enough is happening. But I think people are going to start coming back to the city. More people. It's not just wishful thinking. I think we're going to turn a corner here someday soon because of the nature of how we live and work. I'm not sure that the suburbs have room for any more people. The suburbs are going to soon be full. I'm working on a story now about the number of available housing lots left in Baltimore County. It is a finite number. It is not a very big number either. And that's a good story. I need to work on that some more to confirm it. But it tells me, you know, the suburbs have been growing for 70 years, since the 1950s or late 40s, right? And they've gotten big and they're full. And the city has lost all this population during this time. And I think we're going to see a reclaiming of the city. We're starting to see it now. it needs to spread out more. It doesn't seem to be that equitable yet.
Mhm.
But it could happen. It could very well happen here just because of the need for space for people to live. And if the city can get the crime issues under control, get more kids better educated coming through the school system, get people to feel like, hey, you know, we're all in this together. You can't just keep abandoning places and moving someplace else. You kind of sort of put the flag down and say, this is my place. I live here, and I'm going to try to get involved and improve it. You could turn. I think you need some leadership that says that, though. I think, you know, I'd like to hear a little bit more from the mayor and other people in the city about just saying, hey, stay here. Let's fix it. When I first got to town, William Donald Schaefer was the mayor. And he had a lot of flaws and faults when I reflect on him. But he really cared about the city, and he wanted people to stay and work on it, you know. And he was saying that as population was falling, you know. Despite that, he was still a cheerleader and pushing for people to reclaim the city, not run away from it. So I hope we see some of that. I mean, I think we might see that among some younger people, and I feel like there's a lot of activity in the streets where people are getting fed up and want to see improvement. You know, at least it's not something I sense; it's something I see.
Right.
So
Well, you talk about the development, and I know
Yeah.
that a lot of what we're seeing development-wise in the city are residential units, and so that's a very
Yeah.
encouraging sign. They're building
Yeah.
housing in Baltimore, and there's an expectation that people are going to fill those units. So I
Yeah.
think you're right.
You know, a lot of people are working at home now, so
Mhm.
they're worried about like what's going to happen downtown, all that office space downtown. And a lot of it's going to be converted. A lot of it already has been converted to residential. I think the fastest growing census tract in the city is still the downtown census tract.
Right.
So we'll see. You know, I encourage people to drive around and just, you know, there are dreary parts of Baltimore that have been neglected and need some help, but there's a lot of all of this stuff going on, and it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And I tell people that visit all the time when I'm giving tours, you know, Baltimore's challenges are not unique to Baltimore.
No.
And these are challenges that every city faces. And we have a lot to be excited about and a lot to be proud of. And more times than not, when people actually take the time to get to know the city a little bit, their perception changes entirely. And they tell me
Yeah.
afterwards, to quote the title of your play, I had no idea.
You had no idea. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I try to be optimistic, but be a realist at the same time. I don't think any of this stuff is going to happen overnight, but it's slowly, I think people are coming to realize that we can't just live in fear all the time, you know.
Mhm. Yep. It's going to take that buy-in to really move the needle, I think.
America, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be fearful. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we have a terrible gun problem, violence problem in the country. That's almost everywhere. You know,
Mhm.
On the 4th of July, I wrote a column saying, do you really feel free in America? You know, or do you worry about where you go? Not just Baltimore either, other places. This is the crazy part, the gun violence. But you can't just spend all your life at home locked up in the house. You know, you got to get out. And my Uber driver today said that he likes city life because it's just more interesting than where he lived before. You know, he moved here from a rural area where there wasn't much going on, and he likes the culture, the diversity of people, all the food. You know, so there's something to be said for that. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is for growing thousands.
For sure. Yeah, I think no matter what your opinion about Baltimore, everyone can agree that it is definitely interesting.
It is, most certainly. I say it's never been a dull moment. I feel very lucky I landed here, and I tell some of these stories in the play. Yeah, I'm still here because I never ran out of material.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your schedule to chat this afternoon. It's been
Well,
really
thank you.
great speaking with you, and excited about the plays coming up. Where can we find tickets for these upcoming performances?
Okay, Baltimore, you have no idea. What remains on tickets are December 14th, 15th, and 16th. We sold out 3 shows already as of today of this recording. It's youhavenoidea.org. That's the
Okay.
website for both this play and the February play, Baltimore Docket. So you can find tickets there, reasonably priced at $27. Same price as last year. That's our inflation fighter price.
Thanks for doing your part.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Well,
have
hope to
no
see you
idea.
there. Yeah, Baltimore, you have no idea, and Baltimore Docket.
Okay. And the website is youhavenoidea.org.
Right.
All right.
All right,
Well,
Chris.
Dan Rodricks, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on Be More Good News, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. You too.
And I guess it's time for our very own Miss Bonnie, our calendar girl. And she's all gadded up in her leopard and red. And she better get those shoes with the wheels on the bottom. I think we both need a pair for the season so we can get out to all these events. So tell us how to be more jolly for the holidays.
Well, we're going to need ice skates and roller skates this time.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's the season for that. Okay.
I know
Now,
how to do both. Okay.
one on each foot, right? Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about the Washington Monument, and thank you for leaving me something to talk about this.
Of
Okay.
course. I don't want to steal your thunder, Bonnie. Can't do that.
No, you'll never steal it. You'll just make it brighter. I'll talk about lightning, right? Not thunder. Never mind. Okay. December 7th from 5 to 8 o'clock. We're going to be at the Washington Monument Light, and Judy and I will be there with a couple other friends of ours who always bring good news. We're going to give out candy canes to all the kids and people who think they're kids. And so we'll be there, and they're going to have all kinds of live entertainment. It's great. Usually they have the Morgan College Choir and the Morgan University, right? I think choir, and they have lots and lots of people there and lots of politicians. You want to meet politicians and tell them all the complaints you have, and maybe they'll fix everything for us next year. And they have the food trucks there, and some stands from the neighborhood are going to be selling food. There's going to be hot chocolate, and Santa's going to be there, and Mrs. Santa Claus. And at 8 o'clock, I think around 8 o'clock, they're going to have a beautiful, beautiful light show with fireworks and music. And parts of the symphony will be there too. So we'll have all of that going on. It's wonderful. I mean, parking's a hassle if you can get a ride share to get there, but it's well worth it. It's from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock on Thursday night, the 7th of December. And let's see, and on that night, the Maryland Center for History and Culture is going to have free admission, and that's right there in the neighborhood, and 20% off of their museum store. Now, what's important about that, and lots of holiday fun, is the Jim Henson exhibit is going on at that time. So that will be free, and you can get a fluffy Elmo, or you can get a t-shirt or a sweatshirt with any of your favorite Muppet characters. And I think they would be really good presents. So that's really special for that night. You get in for free. And then you can go to the Silburn Arboretum on December 16th from 12 to 4. And they've got the mansion all decorated. The grounds are great in the wintertime if the weather's good to walk around. And they will have music there from 12 to 4 in the mansion. So that's a nice thing to do. Again, the kids can run around because it's a big place. And then we have our beer and ballet on Sunday, December 17th. Curiously, it's from 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning. So I guess they have a breakfast beer brew now. I don't know. Okay.
Are they going to do excerpts from the Nutcracker?
I don't know what they're going to do drinking all that beer. I don't know. Probably what they have ballet. Maybe they'll switch it to some Shavasana yoga just for fun. Switch it up. Okay. And the Baltimore Peninsula is having ice skating, and that's brand new. And the Inner Harbor is having ice skating, which is not brand new. And the Four Seasons is having ice skating, and that's all started already. And then the Christmas Village will be open until December 24th. That's in the West Shore Park area. And it's a German-themed Christmas village. You can buy all kinds of gifts and eat all kinds of German food and drink all kinds of German beer and wine. And that's a lot of fun for the kids, too, to run around. And you just buy them a hot dog or something, and they'll be quiet for you, right? Christmas.
If you drink enough of the German beer, they will.
No, the parents have to drink the beer.
That's what I meant.
And just hold on to the kids. Maybe get those. Remember they had those little tethers that used to have the kid. Oh, that's horrible. Chaining your kids up to your wrist. I thought it was a really good idea.
We're not going to discuss that. Keep giving us good news, Bon.
Okay. Well, the kids are safe. That's the good news. Anyway, the annual train gardens. You missed one. Highland Town on Conkling Street, another firehouse. Okay, that's the only one you missed. You did really well. And that's about it. But I'd like to remind everybody to shop in your neighborhood stores. The little neighborhoods have all these specialty shops, and you can get all kinds of really useful presents. Like you can get olive oils, and you can get soaps, and you can get spices and teas, and all these consumable things that people really will use. And you're also supporting the neighborhood, and the money stays in the community. You're helping them pay their mortgage, pay the light bill, and send their kids to dance class. And you're doing a good thing. And I just wanted to remind you to please try and shop small this year. Thank you. That's it. And I'll see you around town, Hans.
Hey, so what about the German village down at Harbor Place? That's still in place too, right?
Yeah, that's the Christmas village that I just
Oh, that's the Christmas village.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's until the 24th. The 24th is the last day.
Okay, well, that's a place they can go buy some good gifts too. So just in
but that's mostly Christmas themed gifts.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. Wow, this has been some amazing news about our city. So make sure to tune in and see our very own wordsmith on TV. He will be telling his story a little different than maybe the one you've heard, and we will make sure you know that. You'll probably see Desmond out and about. You might not see his face because he's usually behind a camera, but you'll find him. Just trust me.
Well, you'll see his jacket.
That's what I meant, or his tiara or whatever. And I just absolutely love Be More at the holidays. So we will be out and being lots more. So until the next time, remember to be more love, be more kind, and be more good news. Happy, happy holidays.
Way down on the shores of the Patapsco lies a singing and swinging his town, I know. So have another beer, sit down, I'll tell you more. Folks work real hard, but they're doing it right, 'cause when the sun goes down, they're gonna party all night. I'm talking about Baltimore.